Hello, welcome to this lecture. So in the previous lecture, we have analyzed a singly reinforced beam in which we were given the section of the beam and the detail of the reinforcement, and based on that given data, we were supposed to find out the strength of beam in terms of moment of resistance, in terms of the external load carrying capacity, and similarly, the another aspect that we were supposed to find out in the problem was to calculate the stresses at a given load. So that was the problem related to the analytical aspect. Now in this lecture, we are going to design singly reinforced beam. So first, we will see what are the things that we have to determine in the design problem, and then we will see what are the various steps that generally we follow to design a singly reinforced beam, and then we will take an example to design a beam. So that is the content for this lecture. So introducing the design problem, I think I have already introduced this design problem earlier. So now in the design problem, generally size of the beam is not given. Now size of the beam here refers to the value of B and D. So D is the overall depth and B is the width of beam. So this size is not given and we have to estimate this size. Then in this, provided or assumed section is to be checked for various criteria. So what we do is in the as size is not given, first we assume that size for B and D, and then we after assuming the size, we check that assumed section for various criteria such as the bending moment problem, for the deflection, for the shear criteria, because these are the modes of failure under which a beam can fail. So before designing any beam, we need to understand the failure modes of failure of the beam. So beam can fail under bending, it may fail due to the deflections, it may fail due to the shear. So all these checks has to be carried out to ensure that the chosen value of the section is safe. And in the design problem, while designing the beam or any section, generally we use Indian standard code. So in case now we are designing concrete structures, so for the concrete structures, we will follow this IS code, which is IS 456-2000. So IS 456, IS stands for Indian standard, and 456 is the serial number of the IS code, and 2000 is the year. It was last edited or last revised in this year. So that is why this is the how we read this IS code. So now we will see what are the steps for designing singly reinforced beam. So first step is about the finding the design parameters. So in the analytical problem, we used to find out the value of M and N. Now in the design problem, two more parameters are added which are to be find out because they will be used in this design problem. So the third parameter is J. J is called lever arm factor, and R is the moment resisting factor. So all these values have to be find out in the step one. Now after finding these four values, now we know that these four values depends on the permissible stresses. So like in the previous lecture, permissible stresses are sigma CBC for the concrete and sigma ST for the steel. So we need to find out these value from IS code table 2324. Now second step is about the estimation of the size. So in the second step, what we are going to do is we will assume the size of the beam. Now size in terms of the value of B and D. So basically cross-sectional dimension is to be assumed, and preferably generally we assume D, and based on the value of D then we try to find out the value of B. So that I will show you. So basically, as a thumb rule, generally we assume the effective depth equivalent to the span by 10. So now span is, for example, this is a beam section. this is a beam section, and if it is resting on these supports, so in between the supports, this length is called clear span. And generally at the center of the support, generally, although we are supposed to find out this value, so this is generally called the effective span. We will see more about how do we find out this effective span, because again IS code has given some provision to calculate the value of effective span. So this is called effective span, but it is generally in between, I mean around the center of the support. It may be less than that, but generally it is around there. So it is effective span. So generally what we do is we try to assume the effective depth, which we generally represent by small d, as span by 10. So here span is basically the clear span. So generally the clear span by 10, we do that. And by this thumb rule, we try to find out small d value. Then now in this diagram, now I'm showing if we provide the reinforcement, so center of the reinforcement to the topmost fiber, this is our D, small d. And center of reinforcement to the bottom level, this is called effective cover. So effective cover is also needs to be assumed, and it depends on the exposure condition. So generally we assume the type of exposure for to assume the clear cover value from the table of IS code. I will show you that table first, and then then I will say that how do we assume the exposure. So there you can see this is the IS code, IS 456-2000, and this is page number 46. And on the page number 47, this is table 16. So in the table 16, the value of nominal cover, which is the clear cover, is given, and that are based on the exposure condition. So here you can see for different exposure condition, the value of clear cover is given here. For mild, it is 20, for moderate, it is 30, for severe, it is 45. So I have already shown this table earlier also. So based on this exposure condition, we generally take the value of clear cover. So either the exposure condition will be given in the problem. If it is not given, then we generally assume moderate exposure. Generally, we assume moderate exposure, and for that clear cover value, minimum cover value will be 30 mm. So based on this table, now we will assume the clear cover value. So here you can see as it says, assuming the type of exposure to get the value of clear cover from the table of IS code, which was table 16. And we also assume the diameter of the bar, because we want to get the effective cover to get the overall depth of the beam, which is capital D. So to get the overall depth, D we have already estimated using this span by 10. Now we are supposed to find out the effective cover. Now in the effective cover, we need to find out first the clear cover, and then dia of the bar, we also assume that. So assuming the exposure, like for example, if we assume the moderate exposure, then for that the respective value of clear cover can be taken. Similarly, bar dia is also assumed so that we can have the effective cover value. So basically effective cover becomes clear cover plus half of the dia of bar. So this is how you can see, this is the effective cover. This is how we calculate the effective cover. So once we get the effective cover, then we can work out the overall depth. And finally, we generally round off the value in the multiple of 10. So for example, if the worked out overall depth comes out 456, in that case, we will round off this as 460. So generally we multiply, we round off that in the multiple of 10. We will see that more clearly when we will be solving the example. Similarly, now as I said, then we try to work out overall depth, which is approximately equals to the D plus clear cover plus the dia of bar by 2. And then what we do, we round off the value of d multiple of 10, and then once we get the overall depth, we also try to find out the width of beam, which again is a thumb rule. So as a thumb rule, generally b is approximately equals to uh, d by 1.5. Okay, so based on this thumb rule, we again estimate the value of b, which is the width of beam. And once we calculate the d value after rounding off, then we calculate the effective depth provided, which we are going to provide now. For example, if from this relation, if it is 456, so what we have done is we have round off this value to 460 mm. So now once we calculate the value of overall depth, then d is small d is provided. I mean, small d provided is calculated from this relationship. D, say for example, this is 460 minus clear cover minus dia of the bar by 2. So from this relation, we calculate how much d we are providing. So this is called d provided. So this is very important because we will be using this value of d in the later stage also. And also, if this d provided is sufficient, this is also will be checked in the later step. So I will show you that in the later step. Now going to the next step. So in the next step, we are supposed to find out effective span. So I have shown you in the previous step what is the effective span. So if this is a beam and if this is the support, so generally effective span is passing, the line passing near to the center of the support will be effective span. But IS code has given the provision of how we calculate this effective span. So as per this clause, as per clause 22.2, it says the effective span of the beam will be the least of first clear span plus d provided, and center to center of the supports, clear span plus half of the bearing length from both supports. So there you can see the width of support. So on the length of bearing on which the beam is resting, so this width is called bearing on which it is bear. Okay, similarly here also. So center to center of the bearing is one aspect, and second aspect is clear span plus d provided. So we try to find out two value of this L, and whichever value gives us the least value will be our effective span. So for example, d provided we have just calculated in the previous step. Clear span is distance between the supports, so this will be the clear span. So clear span plus effective depth, whatever value we get, say x value. Similarly, center to center of the support, in that case, say we get the y value. So if x is less than y, in that case, x will be the value of L. If y is less than x, in that case, L will be equals to y. Okay, so whatever value we get, it should be the least of both. Okay, and based on that, we find out the effective span. I will show you this provision in the IS code also. If we go to this clause number, I will show you that clause. So here you can see on page number 34, this is the clause effective span. And generally for the beam that we are talking about, for example, this is our beam. Generally in our course, we are going to design only the simply supported beam. Simply supported beam is something like this. Okay, so in that case, it says for simply supported beam or slab, the effective span of a member that is not built integrally with its support shall be taken as clear span plus the effective depth of the slab or beam, or the center to center of the support, whichever is less. So that is the criteria that we have used in the step 3. So this is what I wanted to show you. Like you have to ultimately find out this clause from the IS code. So you need to see that. So this was the step 3. Now moving to the next step, which is about to calculating the load. So till now we have discussed about the dimension of the beam and length of the beam, length in terms of clear span, in terms of effective span. Now the next thing that we have to find out is how much load this beam will be carrying. So in the problem we may be mentioned that say this is W kilonewton meter. So in the question, it will be mentioned that this much load is supported by this beam. Say in case of UDL, if say 10 kilonewton meter load will be supported by this beam. So we have to find out how much load is there on the beam. So load on the beam per meter length, generally we find out in terms of W kilonewton per meter. So load on the beam may be external load and also the self weight of the beam. So first of all, given superimposed load, this will be given in the problem. And second part of the load will be the self weight of the beam. Well, how do we find out the self weight? We know that density is equals to mass upon volume. Okay, so if we have to find out mass or weight, in that case what we do is we multiply volume with the density. So here the density of the material, in our case it will be the RCC. So I have already mentioned in the previous example, I mean previous lecture also, that density of RCC will be taken as 25 kilonewton per meter cube, and volume of the beam will be taken as L into B into D. So L here will be taken as 1 meter because we are supposed to find out the load per meter length. So L will be by default 1. B we have calculated in step 2. D also we have calculated in step 2. So by using this equation, we will be able to find out the self weight of the beam. So this is our step 4. So now we have calculated the load. In the next step, we will find out the effect of load. And the major effect of load, which generally influence the design of beam, is bending moment. So bending moment for simply supported beam carrying UDL for the whole span, I have explained this in the previous lecture, and it will be taken as WL square by 8. So using this relation for the simply supported beam, it will be WL square by 8. So this will be for the UDL. If by chance, if there is a point load carried by the beam, in that case, the bending moment for the beam due to point load will be M will be capital W into L by 4. So this will be for point load. If load is on the central point of the beam, in that case, this is the direct formula to find out bending moment. In case if there is a point load, but most of the cases you will be given UDL, and in case of UDL, if it is applied on the whole span, in that case moment of I mean maximum bending moment will be WL square by 8. So once we calculate the maximum bending moment, then we will find out the effective depth required. Now we have, as I said, that the effective force which influence the design of beam is maximum bending moment. How much maximum bending moment is there in the beam? Generally, it influences the design of beam. So for this much bending moment, how much depth is required for the beam? Generally, we find out that using uh, step 6. In the step 6, we do that. So now in the step 6, we are supposed to find out how much depth is required to resist this much bending moment that we have calculated in step 5. So I have explained this in lecture 8, that moment of resistance or maximum bending moment can be written as RB into D square. So this is the formula that we generally use in case of balanced section. So using this formula, if I write D as under root M by RB. So using this formula, we can find out D required. So if we put M in place, I mean, if we put this value, this calculated value in place of M, if we put the value of R that we have calculated in the step 1, and B is the width of beam that we have calculated in step 2, then we will be able to find out the depth required. So that is the same formula that will be used to find out the required depth. And if the value of depth required, if it is less than the provided value, so in the second step we have estimated the value of depth in second step. So now in the step 6 we are checking it whether the required depth is less than provided depth or more than provided depth. So if it is less than d provided, then we will say that the size assumed in the beam will be safe. By chance, if the required depth is more than the depth provided, which means the depth which we are providing in the beam is not safe, and that is why what we have to do is we have to again go back to step 2, and again we have to take larger depth, we have to assume the larger depth, and then we have to proceed again. So this is how we follow the design process. So in the next part, uh, we will discuss the next step,